this is the last video I'm going to do for this week, so I probably didn't cover everything, but I decided it was long enough for you guys, and so this is the last one I'm going to do. So just work on your lap books. All the definitions I've already given you work. So I do expect you to still have the pictures, but we'll fill in. So we'll make this like a 2-week thing to finish. There's just too many patriots, and I don't want to go too fast. All right, I wanted to show you a picture of Baron von Steuben, who was at Valley Forge, the guy who whipped the people into shape. Can you guys see that? Baron von Steuben. Also, the Marquis de Lafayette. Listen to what his real name is. All right, his real name is New Major General Marie Joseph Paul Yves, Y-V-E-S, Roque Gilbert Dumontier, Marquis de Lafayette. That is his name. And he came over at his own personal expense. This is like a cartoon kind of drawing of him. Can you guys see that? He came over at his own expense, and he said, I only require 2 things of you. I thought he kind of said, I'm here, but anyway, he said, I only require 2 things of you. To serve at my own expense for this cause, and to, let's see, after the sacrifices I've made, I have the right to exact 2 favors. One is to serve at my own expense. The other is to serve at first as a volunteer. So apparently he was okay with volunteering at first. I'm sorry I misrepresented that. The commission granted to him carries no command and is up to Washington to decide how the Marquis is to be employed. But he really did become his right-hand man. He was only 20 years old, and he left his family and in France. He had served in the French military for 5 years. He hated the English. Remember, the French hated the English hated the French, and they've been in conflict for many years. And anyway, so he said, I'm here to show up. And he wanted to kind of make his mark on the world like his dad had. All right, I took Yankee Doodle Dandy, and this is how I put it in my lap book, or let's see, the mine or Lauren's, and I kind of folded it up. See how I did that? And just labeled it Yankee Doodle Dandy. You guys can do however you want in your thing, or you can just do a pocket, and I can give you a copy of Yankee Doodle Dandy. I had 2 things like that I wanted, Yankee Doodle Dandy, and then I wanted the words to either God Save the Queen or Let Freedom Ring, because we took those 2 songs from them. Yankee Doodle Dandy is what they called us, and we said, really? I kind of like that, Yankee Doodle. I know some dark, sorry. As the time is shifting in the morning, and the video gets darker, sorry, is that better? And then God Save the Queen, we made it into Let Freedom Ring. From every nation side, let freedom ring. We took their own national anthem and changed it, which I love. We were always fighting psychological. All right, we can't talk about psychological warfare without talking about one of my faves, the Swamp Fox, Francis Marion. So he was this little guy. So you have different parts of the war going on. My kids always laugh at me that I show blank pieces of paper to illustrate. But this is what I'm going to do. All right. So you have the Northern campaign going on, and you have the Southern campaign going on. You have different campaigns. So you have different soldiers up here, different soldiers up there. We're fighting battles on multi-fronts, okay? Well, in South Carolina, there was this guy, and his name was Francis Marion. As many people named their child Francis Marion after the war as named their child George Washington. That is how popular he was. Also, as a side note, Benjamin Rush, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, who am I missing? Benjamin Rush, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, and I'm trying to think, there's somebody else in there that I can't think of. They were all equally known at this time. Everybody knew who Benjamin Rush was. Awesome man of God. Everybody knew who he was. He was a doctor, Dr. Benjamin Rush, and he started medical schools, and he did all kinds of things. So everybody knew who they were. It's just through history. I think I already mentioned this before. It's like James Madison was father of the Constitution, baloney. In all those old writings, James Madison kept throwing out ideas that kept being rejected. A few of his ideas got accepted. But the only reason we believe that he is known as a father of the Constitution is because later he turned and he rejected some of his religious beliefs and said, oh, I don't know. I don't think the church should be as involved in all that. All right, so we're going to talk about Francis Marion. Francis Marion, remember this is your last video to watch. So and it won't be very long, so you can listen. All right, Francis Marion was this little guy with a limp, and the first time he showed up in South Carolina, so there's a northern campaign and the southern campaign, there's different theaters, and we'll talk about all that. He was like a little tiny man with a limp, and he always carried like a thing on the side, you know, one of those like side bags, and he always carried with him vinegar water, because first of all, vinegar water, it'll make the water not go bad, and he always drank vinegar water. He was just known for that. So Francis Marion shows up, this little tiny, little, you know, looking down on him, little man to lead these troops, and he was asked by Washington to lead a small band of men to help them fight. So he helped Nathaniel Greene, he helped Daniel Morgan, he helped George Washington. And he just had a small, sorry, my husband's talking on the phone. He just led a small band of about 50 guys. It ended up being 50 guys that he kind of collected. And he lived in the swamps. He grew up in the swamps. His dad was a big landowner, a plantation owner. And his dad had Indians that he got to know. And so one of the Indians became good friends with his dad, and him and his son showed Francis Marion all about the swamps. There's gators, there's mosquitoes, there's all kinds of poisonous things and things going on, snakes and all that. So Francis Marion grew up literally in the swamps. He understood the swamps like no one else. When anyone else goes in the swamps, they step on a log, they get bitten, they get eaten alive, all that kind of stuff. Well, he just kind of grew up knowing the swamps. So he had this little place in the swamps, like this patch of land that was called Snow Island. And that's where his band of men stayed. So he taught his men how to survive out there too. Well, no one else ever found it, and no one else could ever get to him. They couldn't chase him back because they were afraid they would get eaten. The things would come out of the dark. There's snakes. There's all kinds of stuff. They just wouldn't go there. Well, he took this band of men. The movie, The Patriot, loosely based on Francis Marion. There's Francis Marion University in South Carolina. There's all kinds of things. But Francis Marion, who got to be known as the Swamp Fox, was really into tormenting them mentally. He did not like to kill people. He released them whenever he can under their promise. Like he would capture loyalists and people, and he'd say, all right, go your way and don't fight against us again. Even if they did, don't fight against us again. So he wasn't into killing people or imprisoning people. He just wanted to win the war. So Francis Marion would do things like the English with all their little tea sets and silver and all that would be eating dinner, and then they would go to bed, and then he would go and move all their ships across the river so that they would get up in the morning and their ships were gone, or he'd burn their ships, or he'd burn their supplies, or he'd capture the quartermasters that were going to deliver supplies to the English and burn the supplies and capture the quartermasters. He was notorious for this, just tormenting them. That's what you'll see on The Patriot a little bit, although Mel Gibson was real bloody and killing and all that kind of stuff, kind of for revenge. Francis Marion wasn't like that at all. He would do things like him and a couple of guys would go up to the soldiers and see them shocked, and they would run away, and the soldiers would follow him, and then he would have his soldiers hiding in the bushes, and they would come out and jump out and surprise attack them. And that's how they capture people. Well, there was a point in the war, again with the blank piece of paper, but I like to do it, where in the northern and southern campaigns we were losing very badly. It was after the Battle of Saratoga, towards the end of the war. And really, we about lost the war because we had most of our troops captured, and 600 men in the south had just been captured. Nathaniel Greene, 600 men. Well, and Horatio Gates, by the way, was in the southern campaign, and one time when his men were losing, he ran. He was 200 miles ahead of his men. That's how he was found out to be a coward towards the end of the war. He never was a man of the people. And, military men, they can't respect someone like that. So anyway, all these people, they had just captured 600 of our troops, and people were just getting, where you get to the point and you go, we've just lost it all. So really, basically, you had Francis Marion and 50 guys. That's almost all you had left, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. So he went, and him and a couple of soldiers came in and act like they were surprised, ran away. The soldiers ran after them. They pounced, captured all the men, and got our 600 men back. So that's what he did. He basically saved the war for us when he did that. And he would just torment them. And he made Cornwallis and the other military generals for the English, they started like ditching their supplies, burning their own wagons because they couldn't keep up. Francis Marion would do something, hide, do something, hide, do something, hide. It was all about like sabotage and getting their food supply, getting their water supply, getting, just frustrating them so that they couldn't move. Where is this? Oh my gosh, where are our supplies? They were taken, they were stolen, they were burned. Look at our ships. They wake up in the morning, there's the ships on the other side of the lake. That was Francis Marion. And he and the 50 guys. And when he first showed up, guys were like, little tiny guy's going to lead us. But they grew to respect him. And he was so well respected. So that's why I love Francis Marion. So he's known as the Swamp Fox. He lived in a place called Snow Island in the middle of the swamps. He led his 50 band of men that the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson is loosely based on. He just tormented them. Would do things to trick them. He was all about trickery and sleight of hand, and they would think one thing and it would be another thing. And anyway, so that's Francis Marion. All right, I am going to end here. I'm probably going to try to record the rest of the videos this week because I know especially like Madeline likes to get a jump on it. It starts on Friday, and I haven't been doing a good job of getting them out before Monday. So this is all you have to listen to for this week, but have everything I asked for in your lap book. And then we'll continue teaching on this next week. I'll teach about Benjamin Rush, and we'll go into detail about who he was. And these guys are just so important. I just don't want to skate through them. And I know you guys are probably tired and thinking, how many videos is there going to be, Mrs. Wood? So we'll just continue next week. I hope you guys have a great week. Just make sure you're working on your lap books. I'm not going to quiz you on any of these people that you're learning this week because I'm giving you 2 weeks to kind of know these guys, and we're going to review and go over them. So I may give you a quiz on Friday about stuff we've studied in the past, but not about this stuff. So that way as you're writing down, you're filling out your lap books, it kind of gives you time to learn them, and we'll have another week to learn them. So who is Patrick Henry again? Give me liberty or give me death. Who is Daniel Morgan? Sharpshooter. Who is Nathanael Green? He was also a sharpshooter, notorious for becoming a quartermaster, and he said, nobody ever remembers a quartermaster, but they sure did remember him because he delivered the goods. He was not going to not deliver the goods. All right. I hope you guys have a good week. I will see you Friday.